Welcome back to Independent Blazers. I'm Dan.
And I'm Joe. And today we have an interesting subject for you all. What do we got, Dan?
We're going to talk about Trump's recent comments about Greenland, the Panama Canal, Canada, and possibly the Faroe Islands. But before we do that, Joe.
Well, folks, before we get into the topic, please like, subscribe, share, bang that notification button, folks. It helps the algorithm. It helps us, but believe it or not, it also helps you. So whenever our video comes out, you'll be notified. Also, follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. And Dan, we have an incredible, I think, an interesting subject. President Trump hasn't taken office yet, but in his typical fashion, he's making waves. So, Dan, what are we going to talk about?
Well, he was mentioning about buying Greenland. He tried that during his first term. Some years back, he talked about it. The Danish government fully rejected it. And this is all rumor-based, but apparently he was offering the average resident of Greenland $100,000 if they agree to become an American territory. But before that even itself, I think Copenhagen, which is the capital of Denmark, I believe they have the last word on it.
Yeah, the question is, and again, for those of you, whether you like Donald Trump or hate him like it or not, he's going to take over high noon on January 20th and swear in. So the question we have today, why does Trump want Greenland and the Panama Canal, the two locations which are nowhere near each other geographically, pose different interests to the incoming president? But what are Mr. Trump's intentions? Some have caused backlash and some are cheering the move. Dan?
Well, for the Panama Canal, I'll say that he would be reversing Jimmy Carter's policies, which were to give the Panama Canal to Panama. It started off with an American territory, but in foreign soil. Regardless of which way the president goes, I am for other nations' sovereignty. And I always felt uneasy about the idea of us starting a territory in another country and controlling it, and basically controlling that country's economy. So I think, although Carter was a pretty bad president overall, rest his soul, I do think at the same time, him giving back the Panama Canal to Panama was a good thing. What's your take on that, Joe?
Well, let's talk about first. I'll go get into the Panama Canal, and then let's talk about why does he want Greenland? Greenland is the world's largest island, and it's a territory of Denmark with a population of 57,000. It has been part of Denmark for 600 years. It is also a founding member of NATO and is home to a large military base. Straddling the Arctic Circle between the U.S., Russia, and Europe. That ought to give you a clue right there. And go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. If anything, I was about to cut you off, but I thought you were done, actually. Okay, yes, as Greenland is closer to the U.S. than it is mainland Denmark, that would be a strategic point for the U.S. because, like it or not, Russia is expanding in the Arctic Circle, and that would be a great strategic point to keep watch of the Russian Navy. But by the way, something comical about Greenland. See, I wondered why it was called Greenland if it's not really green. It's icy most of the time, as Iceland can actually be quite green, and I learned that was a trick used by the Danes to sell real estate in what we now call Greenland. I got to admit, that was pretty clever, the Danes.
And this didn't, believe it or not, America's eyed Greenland for more than 150 years. Trump was just the most vocal about it. The island offers, like we just said, a geopolitical advantage that America desperately wants. It's even more valuable as the Arctic opens up more to shipping and to trade. So the idea of purchasing Greenland, it's not a new idea, especially not for Trump. He was talking about during his first term, but he has since revitalized the conversation, and he's pushing how it benefits America's national security. Obviously, Donald Trump Jr. has visited there. I don't know what role he has in that, but Trump is pushing national security. Other politicians have talked about it privately, but it's not as easy than just taking it. Denmark, people really don't even know that Denmark has a legit right to it.
Yeah.
So
a lot of people don't even know. Well, by the way, fun fact, to me at least, when I was a kid, I thought Greenland was Denmark, because I just remember seeing as a kid, it said on a map that Greenland, and in parentheses Denmark. I said, oh, Greenland must be another name for it. I didn't
Right.
know Denmark itself, mainland Denmark, was so small in
Right.
comparison. So I think it's good. And apparently the Danes have recently changed the coat of arms.
Yeah, I saw that. As well as its location, not only geopolitically, Greenland holds rich deposits of various natural resources. So if the U.S. managed to get this, it could, for national security purposes, but also for natural resources. Pretty much locked inside this island are valuable rare earth minerals needed for telecommunications, as well as uranium, billions of untapped barrels of oil, which Donald Trump loves, and a vast supply of natural gas that can be that used to be inaccessible, but is becoming less so. And if the U.S. takes over that, they're going to try to go after that natural gas. Many
Oh, yeah.
many of the same minerals are currently mostly supplied by China. So other countries such as the U.S. are interested in tapping into this valuable resource closer to home. So there's some stuff on Greenland, folks, right there. Why he's interested in it, and why, and really, like I said, the U.S. has been eyeing it for about 150 years. And
Yeah. I mean,
and
at the
so
same time, he hasn't
Greenland.
ruled out.
Go
Apparently,
ahead.
Trump says he hasn't ruled out military force and economic force to take it. Now, I've told the viewers before, some things I liked about Trump, some things I disliked, and that's something I really dislike.
I
Didn't like
don't
other
think he'll
presidents.
use military force, so you'd have to get that'd be a violation. I don't think he's going to do that. A lot of the times he talks, he says one thing and does another.
Yeah.
But again, the Danish prime minister already, she said, pretty much it's not for sale. So Greenland is not for sale. That came out of her mouth. So referring to the U.S. as Denmark's most important and closest ally, she says she welcomed the U.S. taking greater interest in the Arctic region, but said it would be done in a way that is respectful to the Greenlandic people. So again, I don't see Trump using military. If he really wants it, he may try to tariff Denmark using tariffs.
Yeah.
Where he would have more latitude. And again, tariffs, that's a whole other debate. Again, politicians have talked about this under the table. And so that brings us, Dan, let me ask you. You asked me the question earlier. I didn't mean to blow that question off. I had Greenland on my mind. But I want to get back to what you asked earlier. Why does Trump want the Panama Canal, Dan? Why do you think he wants it?
I mean, I guess to set up logistics there. Oh yeah, and something else too. Recently, the president of Honduras threatened to kick out the U.S. military there if he was harsh with his immigration policy. So, what other way than to set up a new strategic point in Central America, which would be the Panama Canal?
Right, and to give the people some context that are going to watch this video, the Panama Canal is a waterway that connects the Caribbean Sea with the Pacific Ocean. It acts as a shortcut route, saving time and cost for transporting goods. So that's why a lot of people like the Panama Canal. According to the embassy, I got this off the Embassy of Panama website. So that's where I got that source from. Obviously, under Jimmy Carter, former President Carter, God rest his soul, under his administration, the control of the Panama Canal was handed from the U.S. Panama in 1979, with the U.S. ending its joint partnership in the controlling strategic waterway. So there you go. So obviously, some people agree with Mr. Carter doing that, and some people disagree. Dan, do you agree or disagree with that?
With what Carter did, or with Trump did?
What President Carter did.
That, as I said earlier, I do agree with. I think that's one of the good things he did while he was in office. He didn't do a lot of good, but I think that showed he was a president with some decency. But by the way, apparently Trump's also talking about the Faroe Islands as well. Now, I have friends in the Faroe Islands, and I've been there myself, and I don't think the Faroese people would want that. I don't think they want to be part of America. They have admiration for America in a lot of ways, but no, I don't think they'd want to join. I think they'd much rather be in Denmark.
An interesting fact: the Panama Canal is administered by the Panama Canal Authority, an autonomous government entity, although a Hong Kong-based contractor operates 2 ports connected to it. So Donald Trump claims, and folks, look, I'm just throwing out what I'm reading and facts. You can agree, disagree, comment, whatever you want. Has claimed that the U.S. is being treated unfairly, whether when it's overcharged higher rates for its ships to sail the canal than those of other countries. And so basically, he claims that Panama is in violation of a deal with the U.S. and that China basically is taking the canal over. Now, to be honest with you, Trump claimed that we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. That Trump said that as of Tuesday. And again, I'm not saying I'm an expert whether I agree or disagree. But again, once again, that's easier said than done. If the U.S. was ever to try to do any military force, it'd be seen as the ultimate bully in the world. If you want, if you'd want to get the Panama Canal back, it'd have to be a negotiation or maybe even a compromise of joint operation. I think there can be a compromise where the U.S. has control and Panama has control, and maybe and once again, folks, and again, like I'm not into pushing for Donald Trump or against Donald Trump in this case. But he does what he says and what he does are 2 different things. A lot of times he'll say outrageous things to rattle people, and then when he goes in there, he tries to get a deal. And this is my personal opinion, Dan. I'm not saying I'm right. I believe he wants to probably have a joint operation with the Panama Canal, and probably just wants the U.S. ships to have lower pricing and wants some control in it. But eventually, he's not going to take it back from Panama. That's just my opinion. What about yours, Dan?
That's fair. And like I say, I don't like the way he overtly says such things. As in, verbally, he's a bully. Although I like that he didn't start any new wars during his first term. I didn't like the fact that he would overtly bully nations in public, like public humiliation.
And again, I think these are just tactics he's using. It's one thing to talk when you're not in office, but once you get in, it's a whole other deal. I think really he just wants the U.S. to have their hand in the pie, and I think Panama's hand's going to be in the pie also. I think a good deal would be, hey, let us have more control on a joint. Let us operate more aside Panama jointly, and maybe whatever is being charged. I'm not an expert on the Panama Canal. Maybe be working a deal, sort of like we working a trade deal. And as far as Greenland, that's a tougher one. You know, you have to go through Denmark, and I don't think the people of Greenland want to be taken over.
Now, how about Canada, by the way? Now, one thing, and I got relatives up in Canada. I haven't spoken to them about this yet, but I have a funny feeling that they're very offended by his
That's probably what it is. I think, again, this is a ploy for trolling and probably trade deals, rebalancing trade deals. I think this is obviously, look, Canada's never going to become the 51st state. That's not going to happen. And for that to happen, so much, you're talking currencies, it's a lot of things that happen. But I think regardless, Canadian people don't want it. It's more about trade, renegotiating, and cutting a deal. A lot of this stuff. Now, I know some of you in the comments may disagree. Once again, this is an opinion of independent thinking show. So give your thoughts down below, too. So, Dan, what do you think of that?
Well, I just read, apparently the U.S. pays hundreds of billions of dollars to protect Canada, and that's what Trump has issues with, but still. That's one thing to say, okay, why are we paying all this money to protect you when you're not really a primary target for, say, terrorists or invasions? But at the same time, we shouldn't say, hey, why don't you just become the U.S.? That's just...
And people that are close to him, talking to him privately, even say, he's rattling the cage so he can get deals when he gets it. He wants to cut deals. So, look, I don't believe Canada's going to be a 51st state. That's crazy. I do think he's trying to set them up to renegotiate trade deals and some other deals to make them more favorable to the U.S. The same thing with the Panama Canal. And the same thing with Greenland. The U.S. probably wants access to some oil and the more strategic access to watch Russia, what's going on over there. And that's what I think is going to happen at the end of the day, is making deals. And
I also think that he did it at a particular time when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was stepping down. He decided to make this
Well,
comment.
he took advantage. Trudeau was in a weakening position. He's not exactly popular. He just resigned a few days ago. He's weakening all around. He's very unpopular.
Well,
Yeah, his approval ratings were in the single digits. His approval he makes our politicians look like Santa Claus for popularity. Anything else to add there?
That's it on my end. Anything else to add on your part?
No, folks. Please leave your comments. Just be respectful. And thanks for watching.
All right.
Thanks for your support. Help us get to 1,000. That's our next goal, folks. Help us with that. Dan?
Folks, please like, subscribe, share, notification bell, as it helps us. Hopefully it helps you and it helps the algorithm. Follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. And in the meantime, Joe,
Please grab your independent minds, my friends, and blaze. Take care.